Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Lustrous Gaming. Today I'm going to be showing off my first real attempt at building a city in Cities Skylines. So as you can see, I used one of the more basic maps. I really liked how this river came and broke off the way it did here, and the fact that there's this little island here, so that you can build like a really high dense sort of Manhattan Island kind of feel to the city. So I started out by building through right in this area right here. This is where the original break off, it was actually right here. It broke off here and I started building out here, and I did the low density residential and commercial, built up my city, you know, made my industrial sector here, and sort of just built it up. And as I built up, what I did was I expanded towards the water, and as I expanded, there was more sort of demand for the high residential, and so high density buildings, and so that's what I concentrated right into here, which gave me sort of this nice natural city feel, right? I think that this is sort of how a city would turn out, you know, living in a big city myself. Is you have this sort of a core that's right on the water where the river is, and then everything gets sort of smaller, the buildings get smaller from there. Now, this part over here was my original industrial, and it was a large sort of, there was a large oil deposit, and so it started out as oil, and when I ran out of oil I converted everything to normal industrial. And essentially what I have here, I was running into a lot of problems where I didn't have the necessary workforce. And so the reason that happened was because I started out by going very heavily into education. I thought a higher education population would be better. And what ended up happening is I had all of these overqualified workers who didn't want to work in the factories and in the industrial buildings, workspaces that I built here. You know, I had like 50% of my population was university educated, and so what I actually had to do was I had to delete a lot of the schools that I built, and actually have these areas right here, which is high density residential and commercial. I had to completely take away schools altogether. Because, you know, what I originally thought was that every single one of my population should have an elementary education, sort of to mimic, you know, real life. Most people have a elementary education, and you sort of need that for almost every job, right? Even an industrial job, you got to be able to read labels or something like that. But in this game, a lot of the workers at these industrial parts, they have no education whatsoever, which doesn't really make sense, but you know, that's how the game plays. So all of this right here has no education whatsoever. I had to take that out, and I made it high residential so that there's a lot of, you know, makes a large workforce that the industrial can draw from. And so after I started running out of space over here, I had to start expanding over here. And so what I did was I started building industrial, because that's what sort of ran out of space first. So I started building industrial over here. I was running into the same problems of not having enough workers, and so I had to build this high residential, commercial and residential, and none of this has schooling access either, not even basic elementary school, because these industrial workplaces just had no workers, and I just needed to do that. So I concentrated the university sort of in the downtown core here, and let the people in these high density residential, let them be the workforce that's going to supply for the office buildings that run across the downtown over here, and for the department stores and everything like that. And so over here I have my airport. Just I tried to make it a place that was realistic from the city, you know, sort of far away from the downtown core. And as you can see, my traffic isn't bad at all. It's actually pretty good. If we come through here, you know, there's no spaces where it's really clogging up. Everything's flowing very smoothly. Now let me tell you, I wish I could have videoed before where this entire downtown core was actually stuck with traffic. Like it was honestly a dead zone. There was cars lined up all throughout these streets, and it was just absolutely terrible. Now I had originally put this sort of large roundabout, made it a one-way around to ease the traffic of the city, but it was still not helping. This, especially this section down here, was just absolutely terrible. And so what I had to do, and this is what I found myself usually doing, I don't like planning roundabouts too far ahead unless I really know it's going to be a spot that's, you know, going to be really dense. And what I'll do is I'll just force roundabouts. Like I had to make a lot of changes. I had to delete a lot of buildings, especially buildings, move a lot of buildings. You know, there was a stadium here I had to move just to make this roundabout, because this intersection right here was so clogged up, and it was clogging everything. A lot of that was because of the fact that cars were leaving out into here, and the fact that it was coming in through here. So this section and this section was just clogging up the entire city. And so what I did was I built these roundabouts to ease the traffic flow, but even still, even with these roundabouts, it was still absolutely terrible. It eased it up a bit, but it was nowhere near this. And what I was finding was that cars were coming in through here and clogging up here, even though they were trying to get to down here, or they were trying to get to down here. Everyone was going through the middle of the city. So I had to think of some clever solutions, and mainly that's tunnels. And I have a whole system of tunnels, and maybe in the future I'll do a video showing my system of tunnels, going underneath at key points to encourage the cars to go under and to go across the city from underneath, as opposed to going through the main streets and just clogging everything up. One thing that I found that's absolutely vital when you're building these cities is especially when there's, you know, going over important or under important points like these highway points, is to build one-way avenues. So for example, if this was a two-way, the traffic here would be absolutely just clogged up, and you can see that, you know, 3 different roads come into it, and it does clog up a little bit over here. But if it was a two-way, it'd be an absolute mess. So I have all the cars that, you know, want to come from this section into the city come in through here. If they need to get to the industrial, I have other ways for them to do that, like this, like tunnels. There's tunnels over here that come into the city here, into the industrial sector there, and basically I have one way coming in, one way going the other way, just to make everything flow much better. Traffic flow. I spent hours on that just because it becomes such an important thing when you're playing this game. Now, over here, in terms of the ports, this map only allows ports to come in on this coastal line here. I realized that this one does not allow for that, and so I focused my sewage on this part. And so basically I have a tourist harbor right over here, and then I have my industrial harbor right at the front here. And you notice I sort of kept it away from, you know, this downtown core and this island over here, which I'm going to develop into a high density, I'm not even going to put office buildings, just high density residential and commercial, to make it really dense, to make the buildings really tall. And I'm keeping this part separate, but this is one of the best spots for this for the commercial sort of harbor. And what I did was I allowed for cars to come in through the highway, through this part of the highway underground, and there's a third entry point that comes in from the city itself. Now I'm not 100% sure where exactly it comes into here. I would have to look at the map, but this part here I have so that cars can go back into the highway. And I should actually probably make another part that allows it to come into this highway here, probably ease some of this traffic coming into this tunnel. But I built this tunnel specifically because I knew that most of this traffic was going to be going towards the industrial sectors. And so this tunnel actually drives all the way and comes along this road here underneath, comes all the way down, and it actually exits, you can see, right over here. And the reason I have it exit over here is so that if it needs to come into this industrial, it can come down south through this road, and you can see this road's a little bit dense here. And if it needs to come into this industrial, it can just come in through here. And I think I even made this a one-way road so that it can everything can flow, you know, pretty properly into there. Now, eventually, at some point, I'm probably going to make a tunnel that drives off of this and comes exclusively into this industrial zone, especially because I'm going to be building this entire section and even this entire waterway into industrial. Everything here is going to be a large, huge industrial park. I'm going to focus this area over here into high residential, high commercial, uneducated workers to supply workers for this industrial. And even over here, I think I'm going to have a nice sort of mix of different neighborhoods of industrial, different neighborhoods of high residential, commercial, and everything like that. But it's going to be sort of the main industrial hub of the city is going to be this outer part over here, and I'm going to concentrate all of the high density, higher educated, and sort of office workers, department store workers, everything like that, high, you know, commercial buildings over here into this part over here. I'll make some bridges coming off. This part here, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with. I think over here I'll probably do the same high density downtown space. I might do a small industrial part right here, which is characteristic of a lot of cities that, you know, parts of their harbor front are industrial. I know that's true of the city that I live in. So yeah, you know, I spent quite a bit of time working on this. I have a lot of hope for. I really want to fill out the map as much as I can. The only mod that I'm using is the one that allows you to take out the traffic lights, because I mean, traffic lights aren't a huge issue. In some cases, they can actually help the flow of traffic, but I just thought that I'd rather have traffic flowing in a more fluid way as opposed to forced stops even when the traffic doesn't ask for it. And so yeah, that's the only mod I have going. I realized later that there is a mod that allows you to unlock all of the squares, which I didn't realize until a little bit too late. So I only was able to unlock 9 squares in this one, and so I'll only be able to fill that up. But yeah, I think for my first real attempt, I think it's not too bad. I watched a few YouTube videos just to get the basics down, but I like to sort of figure out the rest for myself and make my own mistakes and figure. And there's a sense of accomplishment that comes from that. So I don't have a name for this city yet. If you want to suggest a name in the comments, and I'll take those into consideration. But hope you liked my city, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Have a great day.